Well, in the final 4 seconds between the Cavs and Raptors, Cavs down 4 at this point. Harden with the inbound pass intended for Mobley. It was deflected. Max Strus came up with it and a chance, but it was no good as Toronto now evens the series, and we are headed back to Cleveland for Game 5 that gets underway on Wednesday. 93-89 is your final score. Bring in our own John Henson for more as our post-game coverage begins here on CBS Sports HQ. John, let's start with your biggest takeaway from today's game.
I think the Raptors' resilience. They were down, they kept fighting, they kept punching. And I've played a playoff series in Toronto, one of the loudest places I've ever played in. So that crowd is going to give you the juice. Scottie Barnes comes in kind of with a masterful performance. He kind of manipulated the game, made the right plays, didn't shoot great from the field, but he started them rolling. R.J. Barrett comes in with 18. Brandon Ingram, not a great percentage from the field, but I loved his aggression. He didn't stop shooting. He had 23 points. And Colin Murray-Boas, the rookie off the bench, 15 and 10. Just a masterful performance and a must-win spot kind of for the Raptors, because you definitely won't go back home to Cleveland or go back to Cleveland down 3-1. You would be in a tough spot if that was the case. Now it's 2-2. Look, we're back to kind of solid ground. Both teams kind of stole one at home. So here we go.
Yeah, it certainly has felt like that. Adding in that they've had an answer for Donovan Mitchell in particular, who's really struggled away from home. What's your concern level with him moving forward? And really, what are you seeing from this Raptors defense that's giving him problems?
Well, it kind of reminds me of a situation when I played with Giannis kind of in his he thought, hey, look, I'm the man. I'm going to try to take us and put the team on our back. Donovan Mitchell just has to trust his teammates to make the right play. We saw it at the end of the game. He didn't necessarily need to take that shot. He didn't have to take that three-point shot that kind of lost him the game. He could have moved the ball, got a better shot, or got someone else open. Donovan Mitchell is a great playoff player. He has all these stats, averages so many points. But right now, the Raptors are saying, look, we're going to throw this coverage at you. It's going to kind of be a token double. We're going to stay late, and we're going to make you pass it. Donovan Mitchell just has to make the right play every single time, and he hasn't been doing that, and then he has to force the offense, and it kind of snowballs into now what you see, a 4-point loss when you guys were up for the most part down the stretch.
Yeah, Toronto has now evened this series. It's interesting, the home team has won every game in this series. So with that being said, who will be the first team, you think, to steal a game on the road?
I'm going to probably go Cleveland. I played in Cleveland also as well, so I've been there as well for the playoffs. I've seen both arenas in playoff moments, and they're tough spots to play in. Listen, Cleveland was selling out the arenas when we had a top 5 pick. So during the playoffs, I'll never forget, it was so loud one time when I just went to observe a game. I actually left. It was too much going on. So I think Cleveland will have to win this series, Cleveland's going to have to go on the road and win a game.
All right, we'll leave that there. I thought it was really interesting. I had to do a double take, John. I don't know about you. At the end of the first quarter, it was 17-14. At the end of the first quarter, were you surprised with just how low scoring this one in particular was?
I wasn't surprised. Cleveland's a really good defensive team with Mobley and Allen, and then you've got Ingram, Barrett, Barnes, Podol, Jacoby Walter. These are all plus defenders. So it's kind of a rock fight. Shots weren't going in. And, game 4, you're sitting on everything. You know everybody's moves. You know your opponent's move. You know what they want to run. So that was kind of the epitome of the first quarter, even the whole game. No one cracked 100. Because right now, look, everyone's just sitting on what everyone is doing, and you just have to figure out how to win that war of attrition, and Toronto did that today.
All right, let's get to your final thoughts on the rest of this series.
Yeah, I think for Cleveland, it's been like this for years, right? They kind of struggle in the playoffs. They find ways to win, but it doesn't look pretty. I think you've got to ponder a lineup change. You can't be scared to hurt people's feelings. I think Cleveland needs to go small. Start Mobley at the 5, bring Allen off the bench. I know he's making all that money and feelings are going to get hurt, but if you want to win, you have to be willing to change and do things differently if it's not working. I don't think the 2 big lineup is working. They've struggled. And so I kind of look back on the Rudy Gobert situation 2-3 years ago where he wasn't playing in the fourth quarter. He wasn't getting many minutes in one series. It was just one series, but people made a big deal of it, but that's coaching. So I think if you're Cleveland, you've got to start pondering some lineup switches and change, maybe go small to counter kind of what Raptors are doing by going small, having Barnes at the 4 and Murray Boyce at the 5.
We'll see if any adjustments are made soon enough. John Henson joining us here live on CBS Sports HQ, our post-game coverage. Always great to see you, my friend. Simply the best as Toronto evens this series at 2 apiece. And we're headed back to Cleveland for Game 5 on Wednesday.
For this Minnesota Timberwolves team per se, so I really hate this for him. Fortunately, today, medicals, with medicine and things like that, Achilles injuries are not as devastating. We saw Jason Tatum, obviously KD, so I think he will be fine, but you just hate to see that for him. Kind of an Iron Man he's been the last few seasons for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, Chris Finch saying after the game he's the heart and soul of this team. And so you see what they lose from a stat standpoint. But like you said, you have a personal relationship with him. That's just something that's hard to replace on this team. But they do have that 3-1 lead, as we mentioned. So if we assume, which we should never assume, but if we do, that they move on to that next round, how much will those injuries be felt ahead?
Oh, I think it'll be felt a lot. This is, a team that they're going to have to see a big dog next round. Right? So, they're going to need to be fully healthy. I do think they potentially get past the Nuggets. Nuggets just look like they don't have it. Also, we got to remember, the Timberwolves swept the Nuggets last year. So they beat this team before. They seem to have the edge. So I think they get past this series, but they're going to have to figure out how to get Ant back as quick as possible before they get down too soon and early in the next series. We'll see what happens.
Yes, so the sooner they win the series, the better. But they still need to win the series, and they have a very good team on the other side, led by their star in Jokic. And, man, he was a little salty towards the end of that game, had the confrontation with Jaden McDaniels, as you mentioned. Of course, from a fan standpoint, adds a little bit more spice to this series. But what's your take on what happened at the end of Game 4?
Just frustration. Just frustration, man. You see it. I mean, Rudy Gobert is locking him up. Let's just call it what it is. He's locking him up. He's making his tough shots tough, and Jokic is frustrated. Listen, Jokic is a pretty chill guy, right? He doesn't really get too much into things. He runs over there, gets into it with his team, with McDaniels. So, look, if I'm the Timberwolves, if you saw McDaniels in the close-up, he's smiling. He's like, we got him. Got him, right? So, look, Jokic has got to figure it out. Rudy Gobert has been playing really good defense, and when you can guard Jokic one-on-one, it kind of eliminates Denver's effectiveness, right? Because now he's making him take tough twos. He's not getting everybody involved. Now all of a sudden you're down 3-1 to a team that's missing 2 starters.
Edwards is expected to miss multiple weeks with a knee injury. That is according to ESPN. He suffered a bone bruise after hyperextending his left knee during Saturday's Game 4 win against the Nuggets. ESPN reports that Edwards avoided ligament damage in his knee, but will still miss several weeks as a result of this injury. Speaking of the Timberwolves, Dante DiVincenzo suffered a torn Achilles during Saturday's Game 4 win against the Nuggets. That is according to ESPN. That injury will knock him out for the remainder of the playoffs and affect his status for the start of next season. DiVincenzo was averaging just over 14 points in Minnesota's first 3 games prior to the injury. Spurs star Victor Wembanyama remains questionable for today's tilt in Portland. He's still in concussion protocol and missed Friday's Game 3 win. Joel Embiid is doubtful against the Celtics. He's still yet to play in the postseason after undergoing an appendectomy. Luka Doncic remains out with a strained hamstring, but Austin Reeves could make his debut after missing the first 3 games of the series. Finally, Kevin Durant questionable for Game 4 after being sidelined for Houston's Game 3 loss with a sprained ankle. In hockey, Hurricanes defenseman Alexander Nikishin has been diagnosed with a concussion. He suffered that injury during Carolina's Game 4 series-clinching win against the Senators on Saturday. The Hurricanes will face the winner of the Penguins-Flyers series in the second round. His status, though, for the start of that series remains up in the air. This just in out of the NBA, where the league office is investigating the altercation at the end of Saturday's Game 4 between the Nuggets and Timberwolves. That is according to ESPN. The fight started after Timberwolves forward Jaden McDaniels decided to score an uncontested layup with 1.3 seconds left in the game. Nearly up 20 at that point. Nuggets star Nikola Jokic and McDaniels were at the center of that clash, which started near the Timberwolves bench. Fines and suspensions, if necessary, are expected to be handed out before Game